These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Reckless speculation.
Hello, and a happy Reckless Speculation Thursday to all who celebrate. We got the sports dad, Judd Zolgad. We got old Dex tweets in the vintage 1500 ESPN radio studios, that 15-year-old 1500 ESPN sign. And we have in the bowels of the KSTP news department down there, or in a jail cell somewhere, it's Darren Doogie Wolfson for a little scoopage here on a Thursday.
This is my free 30 minutes for the day. This
your
isn't
phone
coffee,
call?
Judd. This is water. They
Yeah,
gave me
okay.
water.
All right.
It's this is one call a week with Darren Doogie Wolfson here.
I mean, you can't make it up, right? I mean, I don't want to go on this unreal rant, but we are market size, 15 or 16 last time I checked. In fact, I just saw
we're like 14, aren't we?
We've been 14 and
Oh,
15
no?
for a long
I
time.
didn't even be
All right.
14. The Super Bowl ratings were off the charts. It's not like I'm breaking news there, but I just saw those local TV ratings that are final. Looking forward to seeing the Canada-US final ratings from Saturday night. I know on ABC on Channel 5 locally, it did a big number. Just curious to see what exactly that number was. But we're this major market TV station. We have to have a better setup. So much is now done this way, whether it's StreamYard, Zoom. There has to be a better setup than this. Anyway, I'm here.
I love it. To Doogie's bosses, just make sure we get a better setup there. So, hey, Doog, let's start with Vikings here. There's a few things we can toss out there, but yesterday news came down that it's funny because these NFL teams wind up doing preparation without fully knowing what the exact salary cap is going to be for 2025 until the NFL announces it here in the coming weeks. But based on reports, it looks like the salary cap is going to be like $5 or $10 million higher than projected to be. It's going to be $20 million higher than it was last year in that ballpark, which means the Vikings are going to have, looks like $7, $8, maybe $10 million more. Let's call it between $5 and $10 million more, as is every other team, to spend on free agents. Is this a good thing for the Vikings, or does it just mean that everyone who's available in free agency is going to make a couple extra bucks? You're not actually going to be able to sign, the extra player mathematically.
Phil, I'd like to think this is a really good thing for the Vikings. Let Kwesi cook. Look at what they did this time last year, having that much more money. So by my calculations, now this is inexact to some extent, right? Because we don't know if it'll be 278, 280, 281, but we are looking at approximately $63.3 million of cap space. That is fourth most in the NFC, among the most in the NFL. Now, we're not talking Patriots cap space, Raiders cap space, Commanders cap space. Heck, the Lions are right below the Vikings. So the Lions have all sorts of flexibility this offseason. But, Phil, I think it is a really, really good thing. Think about where the salary cap was just 2 years ago. What a time to be a free agent. You mentioned how much it jumped in 1 year, but think about where we were just 2 years ago, how much it's jumped up. And so if you are an agent, if you are a free agent, you are incredibly happy. If you're Byron Murphy Jr., if you're his representation, you are smiling big time. Cam Bynum, go up and down the list of intriguing free agents. So, yeah, it is a good thing if you're a player, if you're an agent, but I also think it's a good thing if you're the Vikings front office. I'm curious to see if Netflix gets its wish. Netflix wants some sort of regular season package, consistency with that package, not just a Christmas Day game. If they get their wish, the amount of money that Netflix is willing to spend, wait until you see what the salary cap is in just a couple of years.
It's going to go through the roof. Absolutely. And if it's a Sunday package that they steal away from CBS or Fox, on Murphy, what do you think? So I believe the news broke a couple of days ago now. I think it was after we talked to you on Tuesday, though, that he had agreed to push the void date on his contract back. It was supposed to be in the next, I think it was supposed to be on Tuesday. It's now being pushed back to right before the free agency period starts. Because of that, though, it's after the expiration of the date to franchise guys. So he cannot be franchised. But in your deduction of this, how much, if at all, do you think this increases the chances of the Vikings working out a multi-year contract with him before the actual free agency period begins? I believe the legal tampering is March 10th. I think the free agency period is March 12th.
My sense is, Judd, he's as big a priority for the Vikings as anyone. Now, I alluded to this on Tuesday. I never heard of any franchise tag steam. I know others had volunteered that, not definitively, but threw it out there a few days prior. But just on Tuesday in this space, it didn't register with me, and I hadn't heard that buzz for whatever that is worth. But the amount of interest the Vikings have in retaining Byron Murphy Jr. is significant. And so I'll be curious to see how much they're willing to pay him, how far they're willing to go. There's some Raiders steam, right? So the Raiders have all this cap space. Does it come down just to money? If it does, and hey, I get it if you're Byron Murphy Jr., cash out after that great year. This is probably your last time to truly hit the jackpot. So I understand if money is the number one priority. So it's entirely possible, much like with Christian Wilkins, that the Raiders just blow him away. But he loves it here. The Vikings love him. I know he loves it here. I had a number of conversations with him throughout the season about how much he enjoys being here. So he is a priority. Very curious to see if they can get that thing done, whether it's, March 10th, March 11th, leading into the official signing date of March 12th. But absolutely a priority, but then pushing back the date, much like they did with Aaron Jones. Let's remember, just a couple years ago, they did the same with Dalvin Tomlinson, ultimately lost him. So it doesn't mean that, okay, they were able to get this done. Okay, 100% Jones back, Murphy Jr. back. Not necessarily, but it gives them that much more leeway, that much more planning, dialogue time to get something done. But they absolutely want him back. The question is, what number are we looking at, Judd? Are we looking at now $18 million a year, $19 million a year? Maybe we need to look at more like the percentage of the salary cap that he would eat up. How high are you willing to go? Whatever that percentage is of the salary cap, how high are you willing to go on Byron Murphy Jr.? But I absolutely know, now I get it, there's a price point. I don't know if the Vikings are going to blow him away, make it a no-brainer decision. Of course, I'm coming back. They want him back, but I just wonder what that price point is. I'll continue to dig on that, but I can absolutely pass along that he is a big-time priority. But I'm just curious, like what percentage of the salary cap? Phil, like, do you know moving forward, Justin Jefferson is eating up what percentage of the salary cap? Then we can maybe go from there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these contracts, the player gets a bunch of money up front with a signing bonus. The cap hit that hits the books and the accounting starts low at the beginning of the deal and then grows as you go forward, and then you have to figure out what to do once you get to that bump in the road. Next year, Justin Jefferson, his average annual salary is like 30 whatever million dollars, but his cap hit is only $15 million next year, because to get into the weeds, they gave him a big signing bonus. For accounting purposes, you take that signing bonus, you equally spread it out over the duration of the contract for cap hit purposes. So as his it's a lesser base salary this year because he got the signing bonus. It's going to go up, but that is right now. Justin Jefferson is going to be 6% of the Vikings salary cap. If it was average annual value, it would be more like 12% of the team's salary cap. So to your point, are you comfortable with Byron Murphy Jr. being a top 5 percentage of the cap hit on your roster? That's really the question. Is he that? He was really good this year, but this was his first like high-end season as an NFL player. How much do you trust it versus going in a different direction? Also, like, to what extent, here's another question for you. I feel like Mekhi Blackmon factors in here somewhere. I mean, they were really high on him as a third-round pick. He was in line for a starting job training camp, and then he suffers the injury basically on the first day of workouts. Mekhi Blackmon, what are you hearing over the last several months about how the organization feels about him? I'm assuming he'll be ready for training camp with the injury.
Yeah, he's doing great. Absolutely. He'll be ready to go. He showed some signs that rookie year. He was in line for a relatively big role year 2. And yeah, you're right. It was like, day 2 or day 3 of training camp goes down with a significant knee injury.
Day one, yeah.
Yeah, day one. Okay.
Early.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was early.
Yep.
And so I'm not even sure. Do they sign Stephon Gilmore? I guess I don't know that. I'm asking that question aloud.
Probably not.
Probably
I don't know,
Shaq. Like Shaq Griffin's 29, 30. If you're going to bring back one of them, it's probably
possible they don't sign Stephon Gilmore if Mekhi Blackman stays healthy. So yes, there are big plans for Blackman, but they still need at least one, if not multiple, other corners. So we can still have the conversation about, do you make Murphy Jr. one of your top 5 cap hit guys? And so I think those are discussions. Those are ongoing discussions happening right now in Eagan. You know, they're getting ready in a handful of days to head to Indianapolis. That's when things will absolutely ramp up. In fact, I was texting with a prominent agent, represents a middle tier Vikings free agent. He said, hey, I'm just waiting to connect with them in Indianapolis. We can have whatever text messaging back and forth right now, but it truly doesn't matter until I meet with them face to face. So everything is going to ramp up next week.
So I think the most important, decision on the potential Murphy contract is one guy, Brian Flores. If Brian Flores says this guy has perfected what I need, because as good a job as Kwesi did of going out and executing the free agency plan last March, at the end of the day, Flores clearly identified guys, right? And so, like, my question is this. If you lose Murphy and you sign Asante Samuel Jr., can he come in Flores' mind and seamlessly pick it up? Is it going to take a year? Because that's this where to be Brian Flores' presence is sort of a cheat code, because it allows you to now rely on a guy who's basically head coach defense to say, yes, we should pay him. I need him. Or, you know what? That's too much. Let's go elsewhere. And that's the one thing, because, I will go back to, I don't think it was a fluke that in 2023, Byron Murphy Jr. played okay at best, but then a year in the system, he got really good. So I would rely on Flores's intel and feeling to really largely dictate my potential move when it comes to either retaining Murphy or being comfortable to go out on the market and sign a different cornerback.
That's a very astute point about guys having that first year in 23 under Flores, then getting even better in 24. Yes, Murphy may be atop that list, but there's other guys we could point to. So whether it's Asante Samuel or DJ Reed, or you name the outside cornerback that you would potentially bring in if you lose Murphy, what's that balancing act of, okay, it's going to take this player, even though he's an excellent player, it's going to take him some time versus the comfortability you have with a Byron Murphy Jr. So I know they want him back. I just don't know, is there some other team, whether it's the Raiders or you name the franchise, that is just going to blow him away, where he's going to have to say yes to that particular offer? That in the end, the Vikings make a very nice offer, but it's not the most lucrative offer. Then what is the decision? But make no mistake, the Vikings want Byron Murphy Jr. back.
I was going to save this for Feedback Friday on Purple Daily, but I think we can just toss it out. It's Reckless Speculation Thursday. You mentioned that DJ Reed is one of the top free agent cornerbacks from the Jets. He was a former 5th-round draft pick about 8 years ago. He's a little on the he's 28, so he's a little older than Byron Murphy Jr., but he has been regarded as one of the best cover cornerbacks in the NFL the last handful of seasons. And Declan got, and these shall go. We will protect anyone who sends us a note with insider information. Mm-hmm. And someone sent Declan from a flight tracker website. I don't know how he knows this or how he got this information, but apparently DJ Reed's plane was spotted near MSP yesterday? 2 days ago?
DJ Reed's plane. Okay.
How do we know it's DJ Reed's plane? I don't know.
When I asked, how do you know that's his plane? The source replied, I absolutely did not, LOL. I just randomly click on planes coming into the airport, and that was one of them. I hope this makes Feedback Friday. And if you meant, how do I know it says DJ Reed on the little photo of the plane down there? There's like a little image, and it says at DJ Reed. I don't know.
Interesting.
I did digging on the flight. I mean, this was a flight from Madison, like a Delta flight. So, like, I don't think DJ Reed, did DJ Reed go to Madison?
He went to Kansas State. He went to Kansas
No.
State.
So unless DJ Reed was chilling in Madison or needing a connecting flight,
Wow.
I don't know if this one was the case.
Yeah, nothing like chilling in the Twin Cities in mid-February when it's
Mid-February.
25 below.
Literally chilling.
Yeah, well, the only
Exactly.
reason you would is if you're about to sign an $18 million a year
house
contract with the
hunting.
Vikings.
I'm just house hunting. I'm just looking around. No reason why.
Yes. Oh, that is rich. I just got a text, actually. We talked a little Harry Smith on Tuesday, but again, just somebody reiterating now it's possible this person knows and just doesn't want to relay it, but just reading between the lines of what he sent me, Harry may have made a decision, the hitman. I just don't think really anybody knows what that decision is. And so the clock continues to tick. We laid out on Tuesday, okay, you got to do something with the contract. And so does he want to return for a 14th season? If so, I imagine it's here, not elsewhere. He loves Brian Flores. Flores loves him. I still think there's some good football left in Harrison Smith. That's another part of this offseason equation, but I just wanted to pass that along in the moment of getting a text message.
There's a possibility, too, that the Vikings know by now. Like, this whole thing could just be kept quiet.
Sure.
I'm not saying that's the case, but Harry likes to operate in the shadows just for fun, I think.
God, yeah.
So,
Yes.
like, he likes to keep it, so I wouldn't be shocked if he's told them. But, again, I think the longer that the clock ticks, that there's a better chance that he actually comes back.
I don't see why he wouldn't come back. I get the family stuff, all the other interests in his life, right? I mean, just his personal life is a lot different today than it was even just a few years ago. So I understand that, but he can still play. And I don't think you need to break the bank. They can figure out the money. I get it. He's had to take pay cuts the last couple of years. So to me, there's interest in playing at a reasonable number. I just think it makes all sorts of sense. Like, I don't see the downside. I truly don't. I thought about this after our conversation on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Continue to think there isn't a downside to bringing back Harrison Smith.
I'm guessing he has saved as well. I'm guessing he's got a bank account that is not AP like when it comes to
You don't think
spending.
he's got 3 camels showing up to his
No.
30th birthday party?
You ever been to Harrison Smith's birthday party, man?
I think Harrison Smith, well, he could throw
Guy's
himself a nice
crazy.
party and save a lot, Declan.
Did I tell you, boys? So I'm watching an 8th grade football game in the fall, Minnetonka. I'm watching this running back, and I'm like, oh, my God. Turns out, Adrian Peterson's son. He's got this 8th grade running back, going to be a 9th grader next fall. Off the charts. He has a daughter, too, that's an off-the-charts high school basketball player that was at Providence Academy, I believe is now also at Minnetonka. But I'm like, my God, to have those genes, those kids have been gifted.
Well, there's a lot of those genes floating around the country, I feel like, with old AP.
Was he also 15 yards back from the quarterback like AP was in his prime, too? Just ready to run downhill.
And fumbled 3 times.
Yeah.
And
It
couldn't hold on the ball.
Nobody in 8th grade was touching that young man.
Did that young running back stay on the field on 3rd down, or did?
Oh wow!
Hey, these are all legit questions.
Was he a
Dad.
capable blocker? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I have one more recklessly speculative question for you guys on the Vikings front. So
Well, I hope
this
so.
morning,
It's Thursday, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you better
well,
have some.
this morning I was flipping around seeing what some of the national talking heads were saying about the Vikings in the NFL. And the Breakfast Ball crew on FS1. So that would be Danny Parkins and Mark Schlereth, Craig Carton, and then there was a former athlete, I don't know who it was. And they started talking about Matthew Stafford and his future. And 3 of the 4 landed on, I mean, man, like the Vikings would be a perfect spot for Matthew Stafford with the KOC connection, go chase a championship, a second championship. And Danny Parkins stood up, like the meme, and he was like, "Am I the only sane person here? The Vikings moved up to get McCarthy in the 1st round. They're gonna play him." And this is the same show that I think Carton mistakenly said ACL a couple days ago. So they're kind of just talking.
Because
Schefter
said that at one point.
Schefter said ACL. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
like 2
anyways,
months ago.
Here's my question to you. We obviously all think they're going to push forward with McCarthy here. But on this reckless speculation Thursday, if I may.
Reckless speculation.
Under what circumstance would you consider either Matthew Stafford or Aaron Rodgers for 1 year in 2025?
You could sell me on Matthew Stafford. Best of luck selling me on Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
You mean to tell me you'd bring Aaron Rodgers into this organization? This incredibly stable organization? No way, no how. I mean, I'm all ears. I'll listen, but no, you can't sell me, I don't think, on Aaron Rodgers. You could probably sell me on Matthew Stafford. How exactly would that happen? What am I missing? I get the contract. I get maybe, his wife and or him being upset about the Cooper Kupp situation, but the Rams still have a Super Bowl ready roster.
Yeah, they were like a play away from beating the Eagles and
figure it out.
Beat the Eagles.
Yeah.
Like, to me, best case scenario is Stafford, for Stafford's sake, is back with the Rams. What am I missing on this?
There might be some friction and contract. Like that contract has to be redone.
And that's why I think it's a talker. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's absolutely a talker.
Now
that domino though, like, does he end up in Vegas perhaps? I mean, I still think, if I had to bet, I think if it gets figured out, he stays a Ram, but that impacts the Darnold situation. But yeah, I think we're all in agreement, right? The four of us that yeah, you drafted JJ McCarthy for a reason. You chose your words very carefully in August after the injury that we have our franchise quarterback. That franchise quarterback doesn't need to sit on the bench for a second consecutive year.
If Stafford leaves the Rams, and I think we talked about this a week ago, odds that the Rams would look at Rodgers.
Very high. For 1 year, they can't really draft. There's no one they're drafting this year.
That's what I'm saying. I don't love it, but
very high.
It's a conversation.
Yeah, Darnold. I think Darnold and Aaron Rodgers would be the two obvious fits. I mean, you could say Cousins, familiarity with a similar system, the KOC, but in terms of, like, if you rank those three guys, who would you be confident that could just step in? I think I would put, if it was 1 year, Rodgers I think has more in the tank than what we saw from Kirk. Maybe Kirk getting a year clear of the recovery. He probably jumped in a little early last year. Darnold would make sense if you were willing. They'd have to commit to like at least 2 guaranteed years. It would be more of a long-term thing. Mm-hmm. If it was a 1 year bridge, Aaron Rodgers does make sense. I think like Stafford's the only one but I don't know that Stafford, if he's going to green light, essentially he'd have to green light a trade somewhere because the contract is the leverage point. I don't think he would come to Minnesota for a year. I think it would be, or New York if he goes there. He's going to want like a couple years guaranteed, or why not just stay with the Rams or retire, right? So
I think you're probably right. Okay, so now thinking through all this, what is the Justin Jefferson 2026 cap hit? Can you bring that up pretty quick, Phil?
Yep.
Just for anybody that's thinking about the possibility of Darnold ending up back with the Vikings. If you're thinking about, now I get it, you could set up the contract where it's a relatively low 2025 cap hit. I don't know how you would set it up with a low 2026 cap hit. So we're thinking, 3 years, 100 to 110 to 125 million dollars. That's what Darnold can get.
Yeah,
so what's
and
the Jefferson hit in
dude,
2026?
His cap hits get real juicy starting in 2026. So it's a $39 million cap number, which is 13% of the cap. And what they'll do is they'll probably restructure his base salary.
And the cap will continue
and they'll
to go up.
And they'll shove, because here's another hook here. Brett Coleman was out, noted NFL YouTuber, and he was on Twitter yesterday kind of breaking down what the Eagles have done. And like with the cap, the Eagles brilliantly have shoved a bunch of dead money into 2028 and 29, which is where the NFL's TV contract is going to renew. And so there's some owners that are projecting, and Jeff Lurie, the Eagles owner, who has a background in film and TV production and understands the TV landscape, he shoved $97 million of a cap hit into a 2029 void year for Jalen Hurts, knowing that the cap's going to skyrocket again after the NFL renegotiates some of its Sunday packages.
Right.
So if you're the Vikings, really like shoving money into 2028, 29 is not punitive if you think the NFL's cap is going to skyrocket from where it is now to maybe closer to $400 million in 2028, 2029.
I mean, on the surface, it sounds brilliant. It does. But I'm just saying, short term here, beyond this year, if you're thinking about any possibility of Darnold being back, whatever you're doing with the Jefferson number in 26, I just don't know how Jefferson could eat up that big a chunk and Darnold could eat up a pretty significant chunk. I just don't see it. Even with the cap going up, I mean, it'll go up inevitably again this time next year to some extent, maybe not quite this much, but I would imagine it'll continue to go up, up, up. I'm with you, Phil. By 2028 or 2029, are we talking about 375 million, 400 million, something like that? Especially, I'm telling you, if Netflix gets its wish. But I just don't know how you commit in 26 that much cap space to Darnold plus Jefferson. That's my point.
And Parkin's point is spot on. Like they drafted JJ top 10. Now, the only thing I will say about Stafford that intrigues me a little bit is if KO had a wandering eye in his QB relationships, right? Like, I don't think Sam's going to catch it. I think that was great. But the only fling I could see is Stafford. Won a Super Bowl together, some intrigue there. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but I would just say that if he was to take a QB hall pass, Stafford's my one guy who I'd be like, okay, I sort of see that. Like Darnold would shock me.
Well, if you ask KOC, hey, who do you feel a better, deeper quarterback connection to?
Right.
JJ McCarthy going into year 2 or Matthew Stafford, who is one of the best pocket passers in modern NFL history, and you won a Super Bowl with him? To dismiss, there's a lot of Vikings fans that are just completely dismissing and scoffing at the entire notion. I don't think it's going to happen, but I do think KOC thinks about this. Like, okay, what if it was 1 year of Matthew Stafford? How far could we take a team that won 14 games last year that has $60+ million in cap space to add some pieces to the trenches? It's a legit thing, I think, behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a connection there. Undoubtedly, connection Stafford with KOC. Now, Judd, if KOC had an opportunity for one hall pass, are you talking of the semi-realistic options? That's why you list Stafford? Because, like, wouldn't Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow?
Oh, no, I'm saying a guy who you
or
might...
somebody else, right? If he truly had the one hall pass,
yeah,
you're talking semi-realistic options, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
We'll get to the rest of we'll get to the rest of Doogie's scoop bag here in a second. The bowels of the building creating a little bit of a delay, so hopefully that goes away here in a second. But Judd, why don't you tell the audience about? There's no delay at Park Tavern.
Oh,
you belly up and they'll sling you a beer, most likely.
Definitely true. It is the official sports bar of the Sports Dad, Park Tavern, right in my neck of the woods here in SLP. Absolutely a great place because why? You got, first of all the games. If there is a game on that you want to watch, Park Tavern and their staff are going to find that game, a great selection of beers, fantastic food. You want bowling? You got bowling. Happy hours? How about 2 of them? After work, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. After hours, Sunday through Thursday night, 8 p.m. to close. Heck, there's trivia, karaoke. It is a adult Disneyland. There is nothing that you can want that Park Tavern is not going to have. So check them out. Again, happy hour, fantastic selection of beers, fantastic as well. St. Louis Park's own. Come and hang out where the Sports Dad hangs out at the Park Tavern.
We're going to be hanging out, Purple Daily that is, at the North American Banking Company Minnesota Golf Show on Saturday this weekend, 1:30 p.m. You can get tickets at mngolfshow.com, which includes 10 free greens fee passes as well. The golf show running from tomorrow, Friday, February 21st through Sunday this weekend. A great middle of winter respite for anyone looking to just get a huff of golf season and to come hang out with us. John Randall's going to be part of Purple Daily on Saturday as well, 1:30 inside the Minneapolis Convention Center, where you can try out the latest drivers, irons, and putters. Great deals on apparel and equipment. More information and tickets at mngolfshow.com. All right, Dukes, what else you got in that scoop bag here before we go?
Well, caught some of the Lakers-Hornets game late last night. Away we go. Unofficial second half of the NBA season. The Hornets beat the Lakers. So looking at those Western Conference standings, the Wolves remain in 7th. They are 2 losses back. So I always look at loss column. 2 losses back of 6th LA, but now within 4 losses of both the Lakers and Rockets, of thinking about some sort of scenario where the Wolves can jump all the way up to 4th to have home court advantage in the first round. Wolves resume play tomorrow night late at Houston. It's looking pretty good on 2 fronts. Julius Randle, Mike Conley Jr., both progressing well. On Dante DiVincenzo, I was told this. Let me read it verbatim so I'm not messing it up. On DiVincenzo, slow and steady on the comeback. So that groin issue, we're still looking at multiple weeks on DiVincenzo. The good news, he will be back, but it may be mid to late March for DiVincenzo when thinking about the Wolves having their full complement of guys. But, if they can maintain that health the final, 3 weeks heading into mid-April, they should be in a pretty good position heading into whether it's the play-in or the postseason. The Wolves had scouting representation last night at Auburn, Arkansas. Janai Broom, the Auburn big man, perhaps the college player of the year. When thinking about the Wolves, it looks like they're going to get that Detroit pick. Detroit is playing so well. Detroit makes the playoffs. The Wolves get their first-round pick. So the Wolves could have pick 16, and they have Utah's second-round pick. So that's a top 5 pick in the second round. So it's trending right now. Now, maybe Detroit falters, but right now it's trending that the Wolves are going to have 2 draft picks in the top 32, 33-ish. I mean, when thinking about ammo to make a Kevin Durant trade, think about having those in your back pocket. One more note, I was looking through the Ben Johnson contract, although to me, it should be moot. It absolutely should be moot. The way this thing has been going, 0-6 in the Big Ten into 6-9. Ben Johnson's team deserves all sorts of credit. Ben Johnson deserves all sorts of credit. Down 17 the other night at UCLA. They could have curled up in the fetal position. They did not. Yes, UCLA missed 10 free throws in the second half. I understand that. But, hey, the Gophers have missed a lot of free throws this year. It was nice to see the opponent miss some free throws. But Ben Johnson, outside of the Ohio State debacle, deserves all sorts of credit. To me, he should be back next year. But if he's not, I was looking at the contract. So he signed an extension May of 2022. Within that extension, no raise, but his buyout went up. So essentially, if the Gophers want to fire Ben Johnson after this season, they are paying him roughly $2.93 million, nearly $3 million. Well, before this extension in May of 22, and I apologize if this is out there, but this is the first time I'm seeing this, that it would have been $1 million less. His agent is freaking brilliant. What Mark Coyle, others with the U were doing, I'm not entirely sure, but a big-time win for Ben Johnson's agent, high-powered agent. He's got a really good agent, but good job by Ben Johnson's agent with that extension May of 22. Maybe that's why the U did it, was, hey, we don't need to give him a raise, so we'll give you this, right? Each side trying to win an angle on a contract extension, no raise, but Ben Johnson essentially can make an extra $1 million based on that extension in 22 if he is fired after this season. But again, I can't stress enough, to me, I am bringing Ben Johnson back. I get what the overall Big Ten record is. I get the NIL hiccups. I understand all that, but the way his team has played, and I get it. Why don't they play this way November, December? Fair questions. Also, Mike Mitchell Jr. was hurt for some of those games in the non-conference. I think they win those games if Mike Mitchell Jr. is healthy. Those are all fair questions. And yes, I admit my bias. I like the man. I like the man a lot personally. But I'm just saying I would run it back with Ben Johnson next year. But I wanted to lay out what the buyout would look like and how it jumped up more so $1 million based on that extension May of 22.
Yeah. Yeah. Good info, Dukes. Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Great.
USA Canada tonight, Judd. Had a nice talk with Mike Gensel yesterday. I'm pumped up. A lot of good NBA tonight, but guess what? Yours truly is watching hockey.
Oh, I'm very excited.
Let's decimate them physically. Let's fight.
Excited.
Let's fight 4 times.
Gotta be smart tonight. Gotta be smart tonight. Have to stay out of the box. Canadian power play is a killer.
Mike Gensel fired me up, though. I'm telling you, he absolutely fired me up. His son Jake is kicking some serious ass.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Dukes. We'll catch you next Tuesday.
Boys.
Good scoop session here. Minnesota
boys.
sports.
Mike, by the way, big fan of what we do. He's big on the Wolves talk. He wanted to talk
really?
more Wolves than Four Nations with me. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think he's still a little upset about the cat trade, but he's coming around a little bit.
A lot of people are still upset. People need to get over it. Okay, stop living in the past. We'll put Cat's jersey up in the rafters. Hopefully the right way, right side up. That's what we should do now. Terrence Shannon Jr. has started a trend. Let's hang the banners upside down. Make it happen. All right, dudes, we got to run. We'll catch you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday, fam.